ABC 10 News at 5 starts now.
Too close for comfort. That's how health officials in San Diego County are referring to the latest rise in coronavirus cases. Good evening. I'm Lindsay Pena.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. The comments came after San Diego County narrowly avoided being pushed into the most restrictive purple tier. Our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo is joining us now with more on the stern warning we got today. Laura.
Yeah, and Dr. Wilma Wooten said that we were actually so close from slipping into that purple tier that we were only 2 cases away from that happening. Supervisor Nathan Fletcher saying that we dodged a bullet. Now, the update from today, county officials say that what helped San Diego stay in the red tier was the county's testing efforts, giving San Diego County an adjusted case rate of 7.0. But even then, officials say we are too close to that purple tier. Also sharing some good news about the health equity metric, meaning underserved and most effective communities are slowly improving. Dr. Wilma Wooten says there isn't one specific outbreak or event leading to the county's numbers, but she says it's the actions of San Diegans.
What's happening is people are lowering their guards, going back to how they functioned before COVID-19, going to gatherings, gathering at people's homes or at public locations, and not adhering to the preventive strategies that we talk about.
Now, the county says they are looking ahead to Election Day. They are encouraging people to send in those mail-in ballots, but also reassuring people that if they want to vote in person, it is safe to do so as long as everyone follows the health guidelines that are in place. Reporting live, Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
That is the key. Laura, thank you. Here are the latest numbers for San Diego County. 263 new cases were reported today. That brings our total now to just over 53,000. And there were 6 new deaths, bringing that total to 863. Leaders from Southern California's largest theme parks say the governor's new guidelines could keep them closed potentially for months. The president of Legoland says the guidelines don't make sense, especially considering that stadiums and indoor malls can open sooner.
Theme parks create a 100% controlled environment with temperature checks for all guests, mask enforcement, increased sanitization protocols, social distancing, measures that far exceed most daily life experiences and any other leisure activities.
The new guidelines block larger theme parks from reopening at 25% capacity until their counties reach the state's least restrictive tier. San Diego and Orange counties are 2 tiers away, while Los Angeles is still in the state's most restrictive tier.
The CDC is redefining what it means to have close contact with someone who has COVID-19. It previously defined close contact as spending 15 straight minutes with an infected person. But today that was changed to a total of 15 minutes, even if it's broken up. Meantime, hospitalizations are on the rise in 42 states. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
As we enter our 3rd season of the coronavirus, COVID infections and hospitalizations surging again in the U.S. Cases rising in 44 states and territories with an average of 57,000 new cases per day. More than 221,000 American lives now lost to the pandemic. Among them, Susan Keener, a special education teacher in Tennessee, her daughter with this message.
This is not just, immune compromised people. My healthy 53-year-old mother, her life was cut short within 2 months of having this virus in her body.
Across the country, schools closing amid the surge in cases, the city of Boston announcing it will suspend all in-person learning in public schools. In Kansas, a COVID outbreak in a nursing home leaving at least 10 residents dead, including the uncle of Robert Brooks.
He gave a message to my uncle and he says, "Oh, your uncle said he loves you and he misses you." And then the next day, like the next morning after hearing that, he passed.
With more than 8 million confirmed COVID cases in the U.S., new data showing the pandemic's devastation reaching beyond those infected. The CDC now saying the U.S. saw nearly 300,000 more deaths in the past 10 months than what's usually expected annually. 2/3 of those deaths were directly from COVID-19. The remaining roughly 100,000 deaths attributed to indirect effects of the pandemic, and the race to develop a safe vaccine continues. In an exclusive interview with ABC News, the head of Operation Warp Speed says if everything continues to go well, COVID-19 vaccines could be widely available by June 2021.
The plan, I think, and I feel pretty confident, should make it such that by June, everybody could have been immunized in the USA. We'll have enough vaccine doses. I really hope most people will take the vaccines.
The latest surge in cases isn't just in the U.S. The World Health Organization reporting more than 36,000 people died from COVID worldwide last week alone. 2.4 million people were infected. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
A woman is receiving psychiatric care tonight after driving her car into San Diego Police Headquarters today, armed with a shotgun and several other weapons. This happened right before 12:30. Police say the woman drove into the parking lot, got out of her car. She took off her shirt and started screaming at officers who surrounded her. She got back behind the wheel, left the parking lot before being quickly pulled over. Police say she surrendered without further incident. Investigators are back out in Rancho Penasquitos today, clearing out a big illegal marijuana grow. As we first reported yesterday, more than 2,000 marijuana plants were removed. Well, today a second grow was found, and the DEA tells our ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala the cannabis black market is a growing problem in San Diego County.
More than 2,000 marijuana plants with an estimated street value of about $1 million were lifted out of Rancho Penasquitos and hauled away Wednesday. Authorities say they found the plants hidden near a popular trail in the Del Mar Mesa Preserve.
In a city area, to have an outdoor grow of this magnitude is extremely uncommon. We see these frequently in the backcountry.
Sergeant Mark Knierim is the group supervisor of the DEA Narcotics Task Force Marijuana Eradication Team. He asked us not to show his face, but says during the investigation they discovered a second grow location.
Another 50 plants were growing there, and then we found a processing area. I would definitely say this was most likely related to a cartel.
While recreational marijuana use is legal in California, the high taxes, permits, and fees for legal dispensaries may sway some people to break the rules.
A black market has been created because of that, because people can do this for a fraction of the cost of having to have a licensed marijuana grow and make just as much money.
Knierim says the cannabis black market is now thriving in San Diego County. This year alone, he says they discovered 10 illegal outdoor grows and more than 50 illegal indoor operations.
But we've seen a tremendous upswing in people obtaining a piece of property, setting up greenhouses, and growing illegally without having permits.
He says while charges related to marijuana are typically misdemeanors in California, the extreme environmental issues with grows like this can lead to serious consequences.
You have a lot of environmental issues, and all of those would be felonies.
Lots of garbage and encampment propane tanks. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
During today's investigation, that DEA team also discovered what they estimate to be about 300 to 500 pounds of processed marijuana ready to be distributed. So far, they have not located anyone responsible for that illegal operation. That La Jolla teacher who had a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old student has received probation and will never teach again. Former La Jolla Country Day teacher Jonathan San Martino could have received up to a year in prison and sex offender registration following his guilty plea back in August. Today, DA Martin Doyle says the victim is content that the case is resolved. Besides the probation, San Martino must complete 400 hours of community service by next August.
This just in, the FBI just wrapped up a news conference in the last hour to announce they found evidence that Russia and Iran have obtained some voter registration data aiming to interfere in the election. The FBI director said despite their efforts, quote, "You should be confident that your vote counts." Intel officials also said there will be consequences for those behind the interference. Last month, the FBI released a statement saying that cyber criminals have been trying to use online platforms to influence public opinion and discredit the electoral process. We're now less than 2 weeks away from Election Day. President Trump and both vice presidential candidates were on the campaign trail today. And as ABC's Marcy Gonzalez reports, it comes just a day before the final debate.
13 days to go, and we cannot spare a minute.
With that Election Day countdown, a major focus today on critical battleground states. Vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris in North Carolina.
The people of North Carolina are very much going to be a very big part of deciding the outcome of this election.
Vice President Mike Pence in New Hampshire.
We will make America great again. Again.
And former President Barack Obama heading to Pennsylvania, holding his first in-person rally of this election season. Campaigning for former Vice President Joe Biden, who's at home in Delaware preparing for Thursday night's debate. And in an interview with ABC's Milwaukee affiliate, praising the debate commission's plan to, at times, silence candidates' microphones.
I think there should be more limitations on us not interrupting one another.
One of the topics on the agenda for Thursday night, the coronavirus pandemic, which so far has killed more than 220,000 Americans. In a town hall with Sinclair stations, President Trump discussing his handling of the pandemic, saying he wouldn't have done much differently.
Look, it's all over the world. You have a lot of great leaders. There are a lot of smart people. It's all over the world. It came out of China. China should have stopped it.
The president, meanwhile, continuing his blitz through swing states, heading to North Carolina following Tuesday night's rally in Pennsylvania, a state he won by less than 1% in 2016.
Pennsylvania, you got to get out and vote. You know, if we win Pennsylvania, we win the whole thing.
And the Trump campaign has criticized the debate commission, the moderator, and the topics that will be covered here Thursday night. But despite those complaints, they say the president does plan to be here and participate in this final debate. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Nashville.
And you can watch that debate tomorrow here on ABC 10. Coverage begins at 5 p.m. The debate gets underway at 6, followed by a special edition of ABC 10 News at 8. Kidney dialysis affects thousands of people a day. Proposition 23 aims to regulate some aspects of that treatment. Team 10 investigator Melissa Masiha analyzes the No on 23 campaign ads in our segment, Truth Be Told.
This has been Dwayne Cox's life for years.
I was diagnosed 12 years ago with kidney failure, and I began dialysis 10 years ago. I have to go to dialysis 3 days a week.
He's learned about Prop 23. In his opinion,
well, that's unnecessary.
Prop 23 would require a physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant on site during dialysis treatment. There are several ads on TV urging people to vote no.
I could die if Prop 23 passes, because if my clinic closes, I don't know where I'll go for treatment.
Truth be told, some clinics could close, according to the Legislative Analyst's Office, which provides nonpartisan analysis of the state budget. Its report said given the higher costs due to the measure, some governing entities, particularly those with fewer clinics, may decide to close some clinics. It also said clinics could respond in other ways, like continuing current operations, but with lower profits.
Around 600 licensed clinics in California provide dialysis to roughly 80,000 patients a month. If passed, the measure would also require the centers to report dialysis-related infection information to the state.
The No campaign has major committee funding from DaVita and Fresenius, two of the biggest kidney dialysis companies, as well as U.S. Renal Care. Californians have seen kidney dialysis propositions before. Prop 8 in 2018 attempted to limit dialysis clinics' revenue. That measure failed. The Legislative Analyst's Office said the measure could increase healthcare costs for state and local governments by the low tens of millions of dollars a year.
I am taken care of from the moment I walk in the door to the moment I walk out. Makes me angry that these propositions keep being placed on public voting for people who have no idea what dialysis is.
Melissa Masiha, Team 10.
Team 10 also spoke to an advocate for Prop 23. Robert Villanueva is a Southern California kidney dialysis patient. He said he's had to go to the emergency room after medical staff at his clinic did not supervise him closely enough. He wants doctors at each facility.
Is a good beginning to address a lot of the inequities in our healthcare. And all we're looking for is we just want healthcare justice.
We have all the sources we used for our fact check in this article on 10news.com in the Election 2020 section.